claimed boldly. It was Mother's Day, 1985.
The day Philadelphia organization.
I wasn't here that day. I was at my grandmother's house, which is about 4 miles from.
And 11 people killed, 5 of them children.
Put up the picture for a man. Human remains of a 12-year-old girl who was killed in a police bombing, Philadelphia, nearly 40 years ago, were discovered last week at the Penn Museum, where they were stored among thousands of artifacts being relocated to an upgraded storage facility, remains, stating that they promptly informed the child's family as soon as they were found. However, it was not clear whether the remains had been handed over yet to the surviving relative. There's more. Researchers identified acts of government violence in the history of Philadelphia, which remains a source of pain and anger for the survivors and their families. Last week's shocking discovery of the child's remains follows a 2021 announcement by city officials revealing that the remains of another bombing victim, a 14-year-old, Patricia Dotson, had also been uncovered at the museum. So what do you have here? You have the ingredients of a cover-up. Now, if their actions were justified as proclaimed during the bombing, why would they, from that infamous bombing where police dropped an aerial explosive, like a military occupation, an aerial explosive on the headquarters of a black group they considered radical, known as MOVE, killing 11 people, including 6 children, and devastating a largely black neighborhood in West Philadelphia. MOVE's charismatic leader, John Africa, was among the killed. MOVE, founded in Philadelphia by John Africa in 1972, was a black separatist group steeped in beliefs considered unconventional, whose members promoted a complete rejection of the modern society while advocating anti-government ideology. Another narrative would suggest that they wanted to live free of government control, connect back to nature and the environment, and if someone threatened that way of life, they were willing to defend themselves. There's more. Tensions between MOVE and the city had been brewing since 1978, when an eviction attempt at a previous residence on Pearl Street triggered a fierce gun battle that resulted in the death of a police officer. Later, investigations suggested that the officer may have actually been shot by another cop, shot by a fellow officer accidentally during the chaos, but multiple MOVE members were still sentenced to long prison terms, even though they did not commit the killing. One of those sentenced to prison after the group's 1978 clash with police was Consuela Dotson Africa, an outspoken longtime MOVE member and mother of Patricia Tree Africa, 14, and also Zanetta Netta Africa, 12, who were among those killed in the 1985 bombing, while Consuela was still serving a 16-year prison sentence. It sounds more like a mob hit now, does it not? There's more. 2 years after the 1978 shootout, the MOVE members moved into the ill-fated row house, where complaints quickly surfaced about the family living in poor conditions, with trash accumulating around the building, frequent clashes with neighbors, noisy political messages being broadcast through bullhorns at all times of the day. These concerns by neighbors led to a concerted effort to evict the group totally. In 1985, police obtained arrest warrants for 4 members of the organization, charging them with various offenses, including parole violations, contempt of court, illegal possession nature. None of these arrest warrants are because someone committed burglary or somebody killed someone or somebody robbed somebody. These are not considered to be violent offenses. You have an alleged threat, terroristic threat. You have possible possession of a firearm unlawfully, and you have a contempt of court, typically not going to court on your designated court date. All right. Now, they decided to get arrest warrants for those 4 individuals. But in the process of that, they had approval to bomb by way of dropping a bomb on the community, everyone. I want you to think of this. As many times as other organizations that are absolutely terroristic in nature, like the KKK, they have engaged in this kind of extreme violence in the United States of America, where actual violence was committed against Black people. How many times has the police gotten approval to drop a bomb on the organization? Not once. Not one time. There's more. Hours before the blast, a day-long standoff occurred when police tried to raid the group's compound in an attempt to make the arrest. But the members refused to surrender, prompting the city's fire department to target the row house where water cannons, while police deployed tear gas. Remember, they know children are here. When those steps failed, the Pennsylvania Police Department, the Pennsylvania State Police Department flew over the site in a helicopter. You now have a multi-jurisdictional operation. They flew over the site in a helicopter and dropped a military-grade bomb on everyone, causing a massive explosion that set fire to the house. Inferno reportedly sent temperatures inside the row house soaring to nearly 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. According to city reports, only 2 MOVE members survived. Ramona, Africa, and 13-year-old Birdie. Hundreds of residents were left homeless. After the blaze was put out, the medical examiner's office failed to immediately secure the scene, allowing emergency officials to bring in cranes to sift through the debris, resulting in the destruction of crucial evidence and further damage to the victims' remains. The remains were then transferred among various city pathologists, outside experts, anthropologists from the University of Pennsylvania, all of whom disagreed on their identification. A commission was then appointed to investigate, leading to a 1986 report that condemned the bombing as unconscionable. The probe revealed that city officials tried to justify the bombing by citing repeated public nuisance complaints from neighbors for minor issues like sanitation, vermin, disturbing the peace. This is all on record. However, the commission found these concerns were clearly insufficient to warrant such an extreme response, such as the decision to bomb Occupy. City officials had labeled the group as a terrorist organization, which was believed to have influenced the 1985 bombing as a form of retribution for the death of one of their own. Because of this, the commission ultimately dismissed the sanitation and noise complaints as false pretext for police action. In 1990, the city reached a settlement in wrongful death lawsuits, awarding $2.5 million on behalf of the children killed in the bombing. Other survivors filed a lawsuit which awarded $1.5 million in damages to Romana, Africa, and the relatives of 2 other victims in 1996. The remains of those killed in the bombing were initially believed to have been cremated and discarded or otherwise returned to family members years ago. However,